Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Corner podcast. I'm Elsie.
And I'm Evelyn. Really glad you're here with us today because we are diving into something that I think is going to hit close to home for a lot of people.
It really will. And honestly, Evelyn, when I first sat down and started thinking about today's topic, I had this moment where I kind of paused and thought, wait, this is literally something I've felt myself.
Yeah? Tell me more.
Like, you know those days when you're scrolling through your phone, you've got messages coming in, notifications going off, and yet somehow you still feel completely alone, like nobody actually gets you?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's exactly the contradiction we're talking about today. Because today, folks, we are exploring the loneliness epidemic, a silent global crisis that is affecting hundreds of millions of people, and most of them don't even have the words for what they're experiencing.
Okay, so let's start with a little image. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Well, don't close them if you're driving, please. But imagine you're standing in the middle of a massive, busy city. Skyscrapers all around you, thousands of people rushing past, phones buzzing, horns honking, conversations happening everywhere.
You are literally surrounded by humanity. You couldn't be more around people if you tried.
And yet, if you look closely at the faces passing you by, underneath all that rush, beneath all those glowing screens and hurried expressions, there is a quiet, quiet ache. And that ache does not care how old you are, how rich you are, or where in the world you live.
That's a powerful image. And it's not just a metaphor. It's actually what's happening. We are living in the most hyper-connected era in all of human history. You can video call someone on the other side of the planet in seconds. You can share a thought with a million strangers in one post. You can have groceries, food, entertainment, everything delivered without ever stepping outside.
And somehow, with all of that, we are starving for genuine connection.
Starving, that's the right word, because that's what the data is showing us. This is not just a vibe. This is a measurable, documented public health crisis.
So let's start at the very beginning. What even is loneliness? Because I think a lot of us confuse it with something else, being alone.
Right, and this is actually really important, because loneliness and solitude are not the same thing, like at all.
Yes, solitude is actually beautiful, right? Solitude is that quiet Saturday morning when you're the only one awake, you've got your coffee, maybe a good book, and you feel at peace, restored, content.
Solitude is restorative. It's where creativity lives or self-reflection happens. A lot of people actively seek solitude, but loneliness, that's a completely different beast.
Loneliness is not about physically being alone. It's about the gap, the painful, distressing gap between the quality of connection you're craving and the connection you're actually getting. That's what makes it so sneaky.
Because you can be in a room full of people and feel it. You can be married, surrounded by colleagues and a big family, and still feel profoundly, achingly lonely.
Which I think is actually the scariest version of it. When you look around and think, I should feel connected right now, and you don't.
Now, for the longest time, society treated loneliness as either a personal weakness, like just go make friends, what's wrong with you, or as something that only happens to elderly people living alone.
And modern research is completely blowing up that myth. The U.S. Surgeon General, the top public health official in the entire United States, recently made a statement that completely stopped people in their tracks. He said that prolonged loneliness poses health risks equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
15 cigarettes a day from loneliness.
Not from anything physical, just from the feeling of being disconnected. That's how serious this is. It is shortening our lives, altering our brain chemistry, and quietly tearing apart the fabric of our communities.
So here's what really fascinates me about this topic. To understand why loneliness hits us this hard, we actually have to go back, way back, to our evolutionary roots, because this is written into our biology.
I love this part. Tell them.
Okay, so think about early humans. We were not fast. We were not strong. We had no natural armor, no sharp claws, no venom. By every physical measure, we were kind of mediocre animals.
A bit harsh, but fair.
But the one thing we had, the one thing that made us the most dominant species on the planet, was our ability to cooperate, to work together in tribes. For hundreds of thousands of years, being separated from your group was basically a death sentence. You couldn't hunt alone, you couldn't survive winter alone, you couldn't protect yourself alone.
So evolution, being the practical system that it is, built a warning alarm directly into our bodies.
Exactly. Just like physical pain tells you, hey, your hand is on the stove, move it now. The psychological pain of loneliness evolved to tell us, your social bonds are breaking down. This is dangerous. Do something.
There's a line I came across that I found really haunting. Loneliness is not just a feeling, it's a biological alarm bell. It's your body telling you that you are dangerously isolated from the safety of the tribe.
And when that alarm goes off, your body takes it seriously. Your nervous system goes into hypervigilance mode. Stress hormones like cortisol flood your system. Your blood pressure rises. Inflammation spikes. Your sleep gets disrupted.
And in prehistoric times, that stress response worked perfectly. It motivated our ancestors to go find their tribe, reconnect, survive. But in the modern world,
There is no tribe to run back to, or at least it's incredibly hard to find one. So the alarm just keeps ringing and ringing and ringing, chronically, indefinitely.
and chronic stress locked into your body over months and years leads to heart disease, anxiety, severe depression, and even cognitive decline. Your body is literally fighting a war against an enemy it can't see.
All because nobody texted you back.
That sounds like a joke, but it's kind of not, is it?
Not really, no.
Okay, so here's the big question. If we are biologically wired, like hardwired at the cellular level for connection, why are we failing at it so spectacularly?
And I want to be really clear here. The answer is not just phone's bad, go outside. It's way more complicated than that. But let's start with the most obvious piece, which is the digital age.
Social media promised us a global village, right? The idea that we would all be more connected than ever before. And in some ways, that's technically true, but in the ways that matter, it completely failed to deliver.
What happened is that instead of a global village, we got individual silos. We scroll through curated highlight reels of other people's lives, the perfect vacation, the promotion, the photogenic dinner, and we unconsciously compare all of that to our own messy, unedited behind-the-scenes reality.
And the digital world is built on what you could call frictionless interaction. It is so incredibly easy to double tap a photo, drop a fire emoji in the comments, send a quick haha to a meme. It takes zero effort.
But real human connection, real deep, meaningful connection, it requires friction. It requires the awkward pause in a conversation where you don't know what to say. The vulnerability of looking someone in the eye when you're scared. The effort of showing up for someone when it is genuinely not convenient for you.
I really love this way of framing it. We have replaced the deep nutritional value of a home-cooked meal, real intimacy, real presence, with the fast food equivalent of likes and retweets. It feels good for a moment, but it leaves you completely malnourished.
And then there's this whole phenomenon of what researchers call parasocial relationships. Has anyone here spent hours listening to a podcast, and I know our listeners do, or binge watching a YouTuber and genuinely feel like that person is your friend?
I mean, yes, that's a real feeling, and it makes sense.
And there's nothing wrong with enjoying that connection, but the key word is one-sided. The podcast host doesn't know you exist. The influencer you followed for 3 years has no idea about your bad week. Those bonds can be a temporary comfort, but they cannot hold your hand when you're grieving, and they will not show up with soup when you're sick.
And for many people, those parasocial bonds are becoming a substitute for the real thing, which is the part that worries me.
Now, here's something that I think is massively underappreciated in this conversation. Because it's not just about social media. The loneliness epidemic is also an architectural problem, a design problem.
Tell me about the third place concept.
So there's a sociologist named Ray Oldenburg who came up with this idea. He said that in any healthy, connected society, people need 3 types of places. Your first place is your home, your second place is work or school, and your third place is the neutral community ground, the place you go just to be with other people.
Think about what those third places used to look like. The local pub, the community center, the neighborhood cafe where the owner knew your name, the public park where you'd see the same people every evening, places of worship, town squares, libraries.
Places where you didn't need an invitation. You just showed up. And over time, you became a regular. And through that repetition, you wove yourself into the fabric of a community almost without even trying.
And today, those places are disappearing at an alarming rate.
Commercial pressures have turned public spaces into transaction zones. You cannot sit in a modern coffee shop without buying something every hour. Our neighborhoods are built for cars, not people. So the casual sidewalk run-in that used to be the heartbeat of community life just doesn't happen anymore.
And then you throw in the rise of remote work, which has basically merged the first and second place into one. A lot of people now go entire days, sometimes entire weeks, without crossing paths with anyone outside their own household.
We have privatized our leisure and isolated our entertainment. Instead of the local cinema, it's your personal streaming service. Instead of the neighborhood restaurant, it's food delivery. Instead of the gym, it's working out in your living room. Everything is more convenient, everything is more comfortable, and everything has come at the cost of accidental human contact.
We built incredibly efficient lives and paid for that efficiency with our sense of community.
Okay, pop quiz. Quick. Who do you think is the loneliest demographic in the world right now?
Most people would say the elderly, right? The older, widower, retired, living alone, not great with technology.
And yes, older adults absolutely face severe isolation challenges. But the data on this is genuinely shocking. Consistently across multiple recent studies, the loneliest generation alive today is Gen Z, young adults between the ages of 16 and 24.
Which just doesn't compute at first, does it? These are people who are surrounded by peers at school, at university, who are literally native to social media, who have more tools for connection than any generation in history.
But here's what the research shows. It's not about the quantity of connections, it's about the quality. Young adults today are coming of age in a world that is highly polarized, intensely anxiety-inducing, and obsessed with public performance and image.
The pressure to present a perfect, flawless digital persona creates an enormous fear of vulnerability. And when you're terrified of being seen imperfectly, of being judged, misunderstood, canceled, you stop letting people actually see you.
So many young people report having hundreds of social media connections, packed schedules, group chats constantly pinging, and still feeling like they don't have a single person they could call at 2 in the morning during a real crisis.
They have acquaintances, but not friends, not in the truest sense of the word.
And there's another layer here that's really important. The modern gig economy, hustle culture, the sheer pressure of surviving in a hyper-competitive world. It leaves very little time or energy for the cultivation of real friendship.
And here's something worth really thinking about. Friendship, unlike family or romantic relationships, is entirely voluntary. It requires consistent, unforced maintenance. You have to choose it again and again. And when you're exhausted and overwhelmed, friendship is usually the first thing that gets sacrificed.
We tell ourselves, I'll catch up with them when things slow down. But things don't slow down. And quietly, gradually, those relationships wither from neglect. Not from any dramatic falling out, just from the slow erosion of not showing up.
And by the time you realize what's happened, you look up and the friendship is just gone.
Okay, so we've painted a fairly heavy picture, and I want to be honest, this is a systemic, multi-layered problem, and there's no magic single fix. But here's what I deeply believe. The situation is not hopeless.
Not at all, because if loneliness is a disruption of our fundamental human nature, then the antidote is also found in our nature. We have to fight for connection on multiple fronts.
On a bigger societal level, we need to rethink how we build our cities and communities. Urban planners and policymakers need to actively fund and create accessible third places. Public parks, community gardens, recreation centers, libraries, spaces where people can gather and linger without the pressure of spending money.
Workplaces also have a real responsibility here. Remote work is genuinely wonderful in many ways. The flexibility is incredible. But companies need to actively design opportunities for meaningful connection among employees, not the kind of forced virtual happy hour that everyone dreads and nobody wants.
Oh, the virtual happy hour, the bane of every remote worker's existence.
Everyone log on and we'll just stare at each other through a screen. Fun. But seriously, genuine culture of connection, shared purpose, real camaraderie, that matters.
On a personal level, one of the most underrated things we can do is reclaim the art of the micro interaction. Sociologists have found that these weak ties, the brief, casual interactions with the barista, the postal worker, the person sitting next to you on the bus, play a massive role in our sense of belonging and community.
But we've been conditioned to put on our headphones, stare at our phones, and treat the entire public world as an obstacle course to navigate as quickly as possible, rather than a community to participate in.
And sometimes the shift is as small as taking out your earbuds when you walk into the coffee shop, making eye contact, saying good morning and meaning it. Those tiny signals, to yourself and to the other person, say, "You exist. I see you. We are part of the same world."
And then there's the hardest piece, the most difficult and most essential step, and that's embracing vulnerability.
Which is genuinely scary because the fear of rejection is one of the most powerful forces keeping us trapped in isolation.
We sit at home waiting for someone to reach out first, telling ourselves that if they wanted to see us, they would call. But here's the brutal truth. Everyone else is waiting too. Everyone.
Overcoming loneliness requires the courage to be the one who extends the invitation. Send that text that says, "Hey, I've been feeling a little disconnected lately and I'd really love to catch up." Letting someone see your messy home, your unfinished thoughts, your authentic, imperfect self.
Because here's something worth sitting with. True intimacy, the kind that actually feeds that hunger in us, cannot exist alongside an obsession with perfection. You cannot be deeply known by people who only ever see your highlight reel.
And finally, we need to get honest about our relationship with our screens. Technology, used thoughtfully, can be a beautiful bridge. It can help you plan meetups, maintain long-distance friendships, and find community with people who share your interests. But when it becomes a destination instead of the bridge, when it replaces real-world connection rather than supporting it, it is actively working against you.
Put the phone face down. Give the person in front of you the undivided, uninterrupted attention they deserve, and that you deserve to give.
The loneliness epidemic is a quiet tragedy. It plays out behind closed doors and behind brightly lit screens. But at its core, it is a symptom of a world that has prioritized convenience, speed, and individual achievement over community, empathy, and shared humanity.
But here's what I want you to hold on to. Our biology has not changed. We are still, at our core, the same creatures who gathered around a fire thousands of years ago, told stories, shared warmth, and survived through mutual care and love.
And that ache you might feel, that longing for real connection, it's not a weakness. It is a profound testament to your humanity. It is proof that you were built for love, for friendship, and for belonging.
So the next time you're sitting alone in your room or standing in the middle of a crowd and feeling invisible, remember that you are part of an incredibly vast, intricate web of human lives. The person next to you might be waiting for someone just like you to break the silence.
Take a breath, look up, and be the one to speak first.
Thank you so much for watching today. This one really meant a lot to us to discuss.
Seriously, thank you. And now we want to hear from you. What topic would you like us to cover in our next video? Drop it in the comments below and we'll see you soon.